All right, so today I want to talk about another company in the MSO space, multi-state operator, called Cresco Labs. In the report that I mentioned in my video yesterday about Green Thumb, Cresco Labs was the top pick for Jefferies, and I will include a link to that report in the description. You want to check it out. Jefferies covers maybe about a dozen companies in the cannabis space, concentrated on MSOs, multi-state operators. Cresco was their number one pick. They think there is at least 100% upside. And as you can see here, even kind of the consensus estimate on Yahoo Finance, which sort of aggregates what the equity research analysts, their price targets, 1 year price target of $19. Right now it's at 10, so basically 100% upside. They just reported earnings, smashed it out of the park. You can see, Cantor Fitzgerald, Jefferies are kind of the two that cover them so far. Buy ratings on both, or buy equivalents, I should say. So let's get into it. Let's get into the numbers, especially as we compare to Green Thumb. So first things first, Cresco used to report in IFRS, which is not GAAP, or not generally accepted accounting principles. So I don't have the 2019 numbers that at least would be comparable to a 2021 to 2020 sort of growth, growth story here. The numbers it just wouldn't make sense to be kind of apples and oranges. So unfortunately, I only have kind of 2 years of financials versus Green Thumb. I have 3, but let's check it out anyway. So last year they did 476 million in sales, gross profit of 237 million. So basically gross margin of 50% and EBITDA of 61 million. This year, the analyst consensus estimate is about 853 million in revenue. With going to be in a run rate of $1 billion in revenue by Q4, meaning that 2022 revenue should be $1 billion or more. So that represents 79% year-over-year revenue growth. Couple things I want to point out. Green Thumb and Cresco, basically the consensus estimate is very much the same. 875 for Green Thumb, 853 for Cresco. So let's just say, high 800s, basically, $1 billion run rate. The thing is, Green Thumb's growing at a 57% year-over-year growth rate. Cresco's growing at 79, projected to. However, this is important to kind of point this out. Green Thumb has been expanding their margins dramatically, 52% to 55%, and hop over to Green Thumb financials. They did 57% in Q1, 55% in Q2. So, high likelihood that they will have, even more margin expansion in 2021. And their EBITDA, they did 180 million in EBITDA in 2020. Year to date in 2021, they've done 137 million in EBITDA. So let's just kind of run rate that, round it up to 140. It's very possible they do 280 million in EBITDA this year, just massively profitable business, cash flowing business. And for that reason, I think they're commanding kind of this premium multiple here of 7.7x. Their market cap is 6.7 billion right now. And I'm just looking at kind of a forward, what's the 2021 estimate, right? So 7.7, let's say they do $1 billion in revenue next year, that'd be more like 6.7. So they're somewhere between, let's just say, like a 7-ish revenue multiple. Cresco, even though they're growing at a faster rate, they're not expanding their margins at quite the same clip that Green Thumb is. And for this reason, I think that's one of the reasons why their multiple is, about half of what Green Thumb is. I think it's a little bit. I think it's lower. For that reason, you can see their margins are more in the 49 to 51% range, whereas Green Thumb is 57. 56, 57. It dipped a little bit in Q2. But here's what's really important to call out. 2019 was kind of a growth year or sort of an investment year for Green Thumb, right? I mean, you can see it in the margin profile. It goes from 52 down to 51, then it actually jumps to 54, but then it goes right back down to 51, and you can kind of see their EBITDA, starting to grow a little bit clearly, and their store count is really starting to go up. It goes by 8 stores in one quarter, then another 6, then another 3, then another 6. Clearly, these quarters here, this like 9 to 12 months of investment was meant for growth, right? They were opening more stores, they were taking hits to their margin, but it was for the long-term benefit of the company, which translated into massive revenue growth, massive margin expansion, which flows right down to EBITDA, or the proxy for cash flow. I think Cresco is in that phase now, right? I mean, I think they're getting to the point where they are in sort of growth mode. They're getting after it. They're opening more stores, and they're going to take probably some near-term margin hit, and therefore, cash flow hit. But they're going to hit a run rate of $1 billion by the end of the year, and probably eclipse $1 billion in sales by 2022. So I honestly think that the growth prospects for Cresco are a little bit more exciting than Green Thumb. I think Green Thumb, even though very much in entering a growth industry, I think they're a little more mature. I definitely am still super bullish on Green Thumb, but I think the upside with Cresco is a bit more dramatic. Remember, I bought Green Thumb at $10 a share. Now it's in the mid 30s. I think there's a higher likelihood of Cresco going from about $10 a share today to $20 a share by the end of the year or early next year than there is for Green Thumb to go from the mid 30s where it is today to, say, $70 by the end of the year. I just don't see that happening. Do I think it's a $70 stock? Yeah, for sure. And that's why I plan on holding it for the long term. But I think that the upside with Cresco is a little bit more obvious. And I think that, the market is kind of placing a little bit of a depressed multiple on it because, sure, they're probably comparing it to Green Thumb, and it's not even close in terms of, margin expansion and EBITDA generation or cash flow. But it is growing at a faster top line rate, and it's catching up. I mean, it's right in the ballpark. 853 million revenue estimate versus 875. I mean, no one's gonna cry over 20 million bucks. So I think, both of these companies, billion-dollar companies, they're investing in multi-billion-dollar industries. The MSO and kind of cannabis market overall is projected to reach, between 50 and 60 billion over the next decade. And I think we're going to see the majority of that growth in the next 5 years, actually. So I think it's kind of a near-term growth play. Again, I'm a shareholder of both of these companies, own roughly 1,200 shares of both at roughly $10 a share for both. But I think I'm a little bit more excited about Cresco's growth prospects. But again, definitely holding both for the long term. Let me know what you think, though. Let me know if you think, what you think of the management teams of each of these companies. Like I said, Ben Cobbler, and this is sort of was my main point in yesterday's video about Green Thumb. He's such a savvy capital allocator, and you can see that with the margin expansion, the EBITDA generation. They've almost done as much in EBITDA this year as they did all of last year. They've done 140 so far this year, and they did 180 last year. I think Cresco still kind of has some, I don't want to call it growing pains. That's not quite what it is, but I think they're still, kind of figuring out who they want to be when they grow up. But at the same time, I very much believe in the management team. It's a founder-owned company, and that's that's a big thing for me. I typically invest in founder-owned companies. But I think that, again, there's going to be some near-term margin hit, probably not generating as much in EBITDA, but fast forward and model this, 6 to 9 to 12 months, I think 2022, they're going to do well over $1 billion in sales. That's probably when we'll start seeing some of the benefits of the investment now and what they're probably going to do the rest of this year. I think we'll start seeing some margin expansion next year. And honestly, I think this company could explode. I think this stock could go from 9 to 20 by the end of the year. And I think it could very well, double from there. I think it could be $40 next year. So anyway, let me know what you think. If you agree, disagree, if you like Green Thumb more than Cresco, if there's other companies you want me to cover, let me know your thoughts. Thanks.